Hello, my name is Matt. Welcome to Unbearable 73. Today I'm going to review a recent movie, The Gray Man, which is on Netflix. Now, The Gray Man is based on a book by Mark Greaney. You might remember him as the writer who collaborated with Tom Clancy on the last couple of Ryan-verse novels before Clancy passed away, and then he was one of those who continued the Ryan-verse books after that. But he has his own series of books called The Gray Man. I've never read them. Uh, I've only read over what the first novel itself is about. I can see there are some changes between the movie and the novel, and I think based on just what I read about what was in the novel, I think they should have kept it a little more how it's set up in the books. Would have made for a stronger movie and a better series of movies. Because you heard that right, Netflix has already ordered a sequel and a spin-off TV show. So let's go over some of the production info for The Gray Man. The movie's a product of the Russo brothers and their team. Joe and Anthony Russo directed it. Joe Russo, Stephen McFeely, and Chris Marcus wrote the screenplay. Those names may sound familiar because the Russo brothers and the team did Captain America 2, The Winter Soldier, Captain America 3, Civil War, Avengers Endgame, and Avengers Infinity War. While Captain America 3 and Avengers Infinity War had their issues, they were entertaining to some extent. At least one, largely because of some nice fight scenes and some well-timed action sequences. And so you could watch all of them, but Captain America 2 was great, and Avengers Endgame was good. The others were kind of average. As far as production quality, sound and score are almost excellent, even making me at times forget about the actual problems in the film. Direction, I would guess my main issue is with the direction on the film. I'll talk about that below. The special effects, they were well done for the most part. Things blowing up look good and so forth. The fight choreography was nice, really good in here. And then the writing, again, issues with the writing, which relates to issues with the direction, because it's the same people doing it. But it's not so much plot inconsistency, rather just poor sequential writing. The story as constructed worked. It didn't work well. So let me say up front, this is a flawed film. I'm recommending you watch it once. It's worth it because of the nice action sequences and some pretty neat combat. The film's basically in what we're coming to think of as the John Wick subgenre. It's been almost 10 years since John Wick came out. It was released in 2014, and it's so many films have tried to capture the John Wick magic, and of all the ones I've seen, this one comes closest, I guess you would say. So the fights in The Gray Man, they're the same faux realism in the John Wick movies. What I mean that it's impossible for a regular human to do these sort of fights and take the damage and still keep on fighting, let alone live. But they do, and we accept it was part of the fictional world the characters live in, so long as the world is constructed in a way to allow for the suspension of disbelief. I know it sounds a little complicated, but if you think about the John Wick films, there's nothing in there that they aren't like mutants or they don't have superpowers or whatever, but they do things that are clearly superhuman. But we accept it because the entire film is consistently that world, and you get the impression that they just trained to be that good. Well, this film has that same sort of faux realism, full combat realism as well. Now, what are the flaws? At this point, it's more or less full spoilers, but I'll avoid being too specific, because really, the thing to watch this for are the fight scenes and the action sequences. The plot and how it ended is just more, The film's way too long. There are at least 10 to 20 minutes of it, which is basically slowly revealing the backstory of this character, the titular Gray Man, known in the movie as Sierra 6. We didn't find out Wick's full origin, and honestly, I'm not sure we even still know it, but until at least the third movie. They only put out enough of the origin to make each movie's plot work, and I still think we have more to go, as I said. The only part of Sierra 6's origin that we need in this film was how Fitzroy recruited him, and that one scene where his father was burning his arm. There's also a bit too much establishment of a relationship, brother-sister, protector-protectee, or whatever you want to call it, between Sierra 6 and Claire. They could have cut down some of those backstory scenes. I know they needed them for a particular plot point, but they could have got to that sooner, and just had that as a future scene in the second film or something, a future flashback showing that Claire is like a little sister to him or whatever. This movie is also one of those films that have multiple endings, and those endings basically ruined what they did earlier in the film. Now you say, "Well, Matt, why are you telling me to watch it if it ruined it?" Well, you don't have to watch the last couple of endings technically, but again, this is a film you watch once to enjoy some very good and in one or two cases excellent fight scenes like hand-to-hand combat and gunfights and all that, and some nice action sequences. You're not watching it for the plot. You're not watching it for the stellar acting, although there's some nice acting in here. Billy Bob Thornton is he's playing Billy Bob Thornton, of course, but he's cool as Fitzroy. Ryan Gosling does a decent job as the lead here, and so on. I'll comment some more about some stuff later about the acting. I don't know if Fitz. Okay, sorry. I'll start with the endings. There was a very logical ending after Sierra 6 that sort of won the big fight. Okay, then there was a second ending, which if had been used to set up Sierra 6 to kill Carmichael, who was sort of one of the main bads in the movie, it would have been kind of an okay epilogue, But the third ending ruined the work the film did in its entire storyline. Right? I don't know how Fitz died in the book, but killing him off in this first film was a mistake. It would have been better to establish him as a father figure to both Sierra 6 and Claire on screen instead of through the flashbacks, and maybe have him kill him off in the third movie. He's the Obi-Wan, so he has to be killed at some point, but that sometimes too soon. Gosling plays his character very cold, which he needs to do for the premise to work. That's a Wick thing. Wick plays, Keanu Reeves plays Wick very cold. And having the excitable Fitzroy, Bill Bob Thornton playing himself, as I said, that'll be a nice counterbalance. And let Gosling slowly move his character from an emotionally neutral place to a more human place, instead of just all of a sudden having to be more human at the end, So what was great? For one, Chris Evans does a perfect job establishing a villain, Lloyd Hansen, who you absolutely love to hate. In fact, the last time I saw a villain established so well was in Expendables 2, when Jean-Claude Van Damme played the villain so well that we were salivating for Stallone's Barney Ross to murder stomp him in that final fight. When we got to that final fight in Expendables 2, you really were ready for that brutal beatdown that you wanted Jean Villain to receive. Second, an actor named Dhanush, which is the stage name for an Indian actor, Venkatesh Prabhu Kasturi Raja, is great in his limited scenes as a Vixen. He has a couple of excellent fights with Sierra 6 and Miranda. In fact, my favorite fight in the whole film is when Vixen, who's the character that Dhanush plays, throws down 6 and Miranda in the hospital. I want to show you a little bit of a second fight with Miranda, so you get an idea of kind of how it looks and whatnot. Okay. So let's change what you see on the screen. Okay, so that's what they're looking for. And Dhanush is picking it up. Avik Khan puts the thing back in there. There's Miranda coming into the room. And I had this exact thing keyed up when we hit play. It just skipped right past it the first time. See, I'm showing you live. My stupidity, my middle-aged adult mind. Now, it should go from this scene, after we just watched it, it should go from this scene back to that fight scene. Then this scene, then that fight scene. Here we go. Okay. Yeah, for some reason, when I hit the button, okay. See, now you get a lot of Wick-style action, little nice elbow shots, and that's another thing. The camera work is excellent in here. They actually show you the fights. That's Chris Evans as the villain Lloyd Hansen. There should be another flash to there we go. Some nice weapons work. And again, see how they pick Miranda has to use, in a straight-on fight, despite the skill level, due to being female, her body's weaker, so he can overwhelm her. So she has to use weapons to try to equalize things, but intelligently, which, again, he could take more advantage of, but, again, she's being smart. She tries to double up, counter him, use the materials. That's a good depiction of combat. Now, stop there. Now, let's get back to talking about things. Okay. So, the point I was showing you that I wanted you to get an idea of kind of what the action looks like. And you could see it's almost Wick-esque, but not quite there. So, there are some differences. It does look a lot like what was in Captain America 2 Winter Soldier, but more towards that faux realism. The one fight in Captain America Winter Soldier was where Cap fought the French terrorist villain. I can't remember his name right now. That was the one fight in that whole film that looked like the fight in this. So I'm wondering if there are multiple fight choreographers on Captain America: Winter Soldier, and that one guy came over here. I'm just wondering. Right. So let's move on. Now, as far as this actor goes, Dinesh, this seems like his only non-Indian credit, but the dude, he has incredible action movie charisma. They need to import him more and do more stuff here. Gosling pulls off Sierra 6 for all of the actual fights and action scenes. The flaws with his character come from the stuff I mentioned above, not the action per se. Jessica Henwick as Susanna Brewer, another highlight. This character, she's the assistant in the CIA to Carmichael. You saw flashes of her in I messed up showing you the film. She's a very limited role, but managed to set up a surprise rather well. Okay. Now the plot. The plot's fairly straightforward. In the opening prologue, Sierra 6 is recruited right out of prison for murder by Fitzroy for his Gray Man program, a small elite group of assassins whose existence is erased. Right. They're sent in when you need to kill someone or steal something that can't be traced back to anyone. They exist or don't exist totally in a shadowy world between good and evil. The Gray Man, the Gray World, the Gray Man. The movie picks up 18 years after the prologue, when CR6 on loan to the CIA from whoever controls the Gray Man program after Fitzroy was retired somewhat forcibly. The movie does not make it clear if Carmichael tried to take control of the Gray Man program or was just trying to eliminate it. So that's some plotting and writing structure problem. We get an awesome opening action sequence once we learn that even CR6 has limits on what he's willing to do or who he's willing to kill, depending on the circumstance. Things go wrong when CR6 finds out his target is in fact Sierra 4. Sierra 4 forces him to take something that contains evidence, which you saw Dinesh holding that little amulet with the memory card in it. And that's the real reason Carmichael set the assassination up. Right? And so we get a chase. Basically, this film is mostly a chase sequence as Carmichael basically puts out a warlike contract on 6, kind of as you might remember from John Wick 2, and then hires John Wick 3, and hires the best of the worst Lloyd Hansen, who's played by Chris Evans, to kill 6 and get the memory card back. So now we'll talk about the lesser flaws, okay? And there are some lesser flaws in the film, the type of thing you'd overlook if the major ones weren't there. For example, when Margaret Cahill was played by Sophie Woodward, who's underused in this film, decrypts the memory card, she says it can't be copied without erasing itself. Well, it may be true in the text, and that may be some, that could be true technically or technically nonsense. I could think of ways around that. All they do is load each image on the screen, take a picture with your smartphone, remove the data page by page, and they just post the JPEGs. The fact that we're looking at it with a camera should have told them how to take the stuff off the thing. The means by which 6 tracked down Claire did not require going to extremes needed to get there. It didn't require all those flashbacks they showed, and it should have been something others could use or block. So my final thoughts. Also, I rate this film a 5.5 out of 10. It's worth one watch, though you may want to break it up into chunks because the fight scenes and action sequences are very well done. And there's some nice 80s style action humor, which is neat to hear in someone used nowadays. Not a lot of people do that anymore. The cast seems to be having fun with their roles. Like I said, I watch it once, and when sequel comes out, maybe watch that, see if they hit the flaws, and if not, then you're done with the series. Okay. Comment down below if you have any questions for me about this video. Please share your thoughts. If you enjoyed it, share the video. If you like, dislike if you dislike. Subscribe if you want to hear more from me. My name is Matt. This has been Unrebel 73. Have a nice day. I am out of here.